Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss electrode modification using carbon nanotubes, which is a topic of Unit 4. In the previous lecture, we studied electron modification using fullerenes, that is C60 molecule. They are also carbon nanomaterials, and this CNT carbon nanotubes, they are also a type of carbon nanomaterial. The difference lies in their structure at nano levels. All the content of this lecture has been taken from the research paper in the book chapter Electrochemical Sensors Based on Carbon Nanotubes. So let us proceed with our topic, how we can modify electrodes using carbon nanotubes. So we have seen that in electroanalytical chemistry, generally three electrodes are used: reference electrode, auxiliary electrode, and working electrode. So all the modifications, chemical modification or any other type of modification that we are studying in this unit, they all are basically for the modification of working electrode. Now, there has been a growing interest in using carbon nanotubes in chemical and biochemical sensing and nanoscale electronic devices. And that is why this is so, because the carbon nanotubes, they are able to show remarkable electronic and mechanical properties. A very important property is that carbon nanotubes can behave as a metal or semiconductor at the same time, and that depends mainly on their structure. If you change structure or if you change their chemical composition by some dopant, then what happens? They can behave as a metal or semiconductor. So desired changes can be done to obtain the required property of carbon nanotube. Now it has been seen that the carbon nanotube modified electrodes, they have better conductivity than the graphite. We know that graphite is the allotrope of carbon, which is the conductor of electricity. But carbon nanotubes, when you scale down the carbon to nano level, it has been found that the conductivity improves significantly, and the carbon nanotubes, they show a super performance as compared with the metal electrodes like the gold electrode, platinum electrode, or any other carbon electrode. Then another special thing about carbon nanotubes is they have a hollow core. They are tube-like structure. So tubes are generally hollow from the center. So due to their hollow core, they are very suitable for storing gas molecules. That empty space inside the tube can be used for storing the gas molecule. Then proteins and enzymes, they can be immobilized in the hollow core as well as to the surface of CNT without losing biological activity. Now this property is really very significant, that the biomolecules can be immobilized on its surface. You can do that on the surface of the carbon nanotube or inside the hollow core, and even without losing the biological activity. Then the electrical conductivity of the nanotube can be improved by modifying the original CNT structure. Its mechanical strength is really significant, fascinating. Very high mechanical strength is shown by carbon nanotube. They are the strongest and stiffest material known because they have a tubular structure. So what happens? Their side walls are relatively inert. However, the end of the nanotubes are more reactive than the cylindrical part. If you talk about the chemical reactivity, then the side walls are inert, but their tubes, the end of the tubes, they are quite reactive, and that can be used for the application of carbon nanotube to electrochemical sensing. The carbon nanotubes show enhanced electrochemical response due to some important biomolecules and promote the electron transfer reactions of proteins. So these are some characteristics due to which carbon nanotubes has found a significant place in the biochemical sensing, and they have shown significant potential for the design of electrochemical sensors. In past several years, extensive studies have been made, and before discussing the application part, how the carbon nanotube is applied on the electrode surface and what type of applications we can do by such modified electrode. Before discussing that part, first of all, we will discuss what are carbon nanotubes, what are their properties, how we can prepare them, and in the last section, we will discuss the application of such modified electrodes. So, let us first of all discuss the structure of carbon nanotubes. Now, the carbon nanotubes, they have a unique tubular structure of nanometer diameter. Okay, all the nanomaterials, they have their one dimension in nanoscale. Uh, Either of the dimension, it can be any dimension that exists in the nanoscale, we call it a nano material. So, in case of carbon nanotubes, which part is in the nanoscale? Their diameter. It is in the nanoscale. However, their length could be really high. The length could be really high, but the diameter is in the nanoscale. So they form a tube-like structure. Like you have seen water pipes. So their structure, the structure of carbon nanotube is much more similar to water pipes. Now we can divide them into two main categories. Carbon nanotubes can be of two types. First is single-walled carbon nanotube. Single-walled carbon nanotube when they have single wall on the either side, like a single pipe. The single-walled carbon nanotube. They are what? They are long wrapped graphene sheet by rolling it in a certain direction. So we have seen the graphene sheet in the previous lecture. So graphenes are one-dimensional nanomaterial. They are just like a paper. When the carbon in sp2 hybridized condition do the catenation part, forms a bond with other carbon and forms a sheet-like structure, that is a graphene sheet. And when you roll that sheet into a form of a tube, then what is formed? It is single-walled nanotube. Now, here the single-walled nanotube, their properties are generally governed by the rolling direction of this graphene sheet, in which direction the graphene sheet has been rolled, as well as what is the diameter of that rolling sheet. Another category of carbon nanotube is multi-walled carbon nanotube. Now, multi-walled carbon nanotube, they are like you have put so many single-walled nanotube together, like a bunch of pipes. So you call it what? Multi-walled carbon nanotube. They can have multiple walls ready for the ready surface for any type of electrochemical sensing. So they are the multi-walled nanotube, and both single-walled and multi-walled. We can use both type of nanotube for the electrochemical sensing application. The single-walled nanotube, it consists of two separate regions. Like I have said earlier, they have a side wall which is chemically less reactive, and they have an end cap which is chemically more reactive. Both the parts have different physical and chemical properties. The end cap structure, the end of the tube end, it is similar to a small fullerene in which carbon atoms are in both pentagon and hexagon rings. But the side wall, it only contains hexagon ring. So in the structure of fullerenes, we saw that the fullerene is made up of different pentagons and hexagons of carbon, right? And the carbon pentagons are susceptible for different type of electrophilic reactions. Similarly, in case of carbon nanotubes, these pentagonal structures, pentagonal rings are found at the tube end, and therefore the end of the carbon nanotube is much more reactive as compared to its side wall, because the side wall only contains hexagon rings. The multiple wall carbon nanotube MWNT, it can be considered as a collection of concentric single wall nanotubes. Like I have said, their structure is similar to like so many pipes we have put together, so many water pipes. We prepared a bunch of them, and now it looks like a multi-wall nanotube, and all the tubes could have a different diameter. So the multi-wall nanotube, it may consist of 1 up to tens and hundreds of concentric shells of carbon with adjacent shell separation of 0.34 nanometer. All these shells could be separated. They could have a distance of a 0.34 nanometer between them, but they have a concentric structure. So many single wall nanotubes are bunched together. The carbon network of shell is closely related to the honeycomb arrangement of carbon atoms in the graphite sheet. What is honeycomb arrangement? Most part of the sheet is made up of hexagons. The diameter of CNT range from 0.2 to 2 nanometer for single wall nanotube. For single wall nanotube, what is the diameter of carbon nanotube? It is 0.2 to 2 nanometer. And for multi-wall nanotube, it is from 2 to 100 nanometer. So, the single walled and multi-walled carbon nanotube, they are not only different in their structure, but also they differ in their diameter. You can say that single wall nanotubes having a diameter smaller as compared to the multiple wall nanotube. Why is it so? Because the multiple wall nanotube is composed of several single wall nanotubes. So it has a diameter greater than the single wall nanotube. However, if you see the length of both of them, then length could be several hundred nanometer to several micrometers. So length could be anything, but the diameter, at least one dimension should be in the nanoscale. Then the structural information of CNT has been provided by both transmission electron microscope TEM and scanning tunneling microscope. These both techniques can be used to study the structure of carbon nanotube at microscopic level. So let us look the structure of them. Here you can see in the diagram A, it is single walled nanotube SWNT. As you can see, only a single tube is visible here. This is single walled nanotube. In the B part, the B diagram B, you can see multi-walled nanotube. Multi-walled, so many pipes are put together. So this is nothing but concentric single walled nanotube. In the C part, you can see the closed multi-walled nanotube tips. This is the tip of the nanotube which is closed. Okay, this is closed. It could be open as well, but this is closed. And D is again the closed single walled nanotube tip. Here you can see only one pipe-like structure, and it is closed at the end. Now the separation between the closely spaced fringes in the multi-walled nanotube is 0.34 nanometer in both B and C. What is the difference between these two? If you look at any two of the single walled nanotube, the distance is 0.34 nanotube. That is close to the spacing between graphite planes. Diameter of single walled nanotube is near about 1.2 nanometer. So this is the high resolution transmission electron microscopic image, that is TEM. TEM image of carbon nanotube, in which the structural differences between single and multiple walled carbon nanotube is clearly visible. Now, let us look at the properties of a carbon nanotube. What are the properties? So, the carbon nanotubes possess such properties as high conductivity, excellent strength, stiffness, and chemical inertness. These are the some of the peculiar properties of carbon nanotubes. Now, what are the other properties? They have unusual electronic characteristics like they are dependent on the lattice helicity and elasticity of the nanotube. What is the lattice helicity? Like I have told you, how the graphene sheet is rolled, in which direction the graphene sheet is rolled. That is the helicity of a nanotube. The density of a single walled nanotube is estimated to be smaller. Density is lower by that is due to presence of hollow channels at the center. Because this is a tube-like structure, the core is hollow, so the density will be lower. If you compare the density of a carbon nanotube with density of graphite, it can be easily said that the density of nanotube is lower. Simply because they are having a hollow structure at their center, they are lighter in weight. So, what is the significant property is? It is not the decrease in the density. Rather, it is they are lighter in weight with the same amount of graphite. If you compare them, you can say that the single walled nanotube is lighter than even graphite and showing enhanced electrical properties as compared to graphite. So that is why, in place of graphite, the nanotubes are getting preference for electrode modification. Now, as expected for the nano size material, the surface area of carbon nanotube is very large. Why properties have been improved at such nanoscale? The simple explanation that could be given is due to increase in the surface area. For any type of nanomaterial, it could be nanomaterial of any metal or any element. Generally, it has been said that the nanomaterials have shown improved properties as compared to the bulk material. So the simple reason is they have large surface area, surface to volume ratio. This is very large. So what happens due to that? Their properties are now very changed. So the carbon nanotubes also have a large surface area, and how much it is? 10 to 20 meters square per gram for multi-walled nanotube, and it is even higher for the single walled nanotube. So it is that large surface area which is providing peculiar properties to carbon nanotubes. Now let us look at the individual properties. Like first of all, let us discuss about the mechanical properties of carbon nanotube. So the strength of carbon-carbon covalent bond, it is already very high, is already strongest in the nature, and these bonds are present throughout the carbon nanotube. So the strength of this carbon-carbon bond makes the carbon nanotube as the strongest and stiffest material known on Earth. Because of the hollow structure and close topology, hollow structure and close topology, these are the two conditions due to which the CNTs can sustain extreme strains, 40% in tension, without showing plastic deformation of bond rupture. So their strain bearing capacity is due to that hollow structure. It can withstand very high strain without getting deformed. And even if under that strain, some local bonds are ruptured. Suppose some bonds are also ruptured if under that strain. So what will happen? That defect will be redistributed over the entire surface. Why is it so? Because of the mobility of these defects. Suppose if very high strain is applied and there is some local bond rupture, there is certain deformation at some point, then what will happen? That defect will be redistributed over the entire surface, because on the surface of carbon nanotube these defects are mobile. They can travel from one place to other, so that defect, that strain that comes in the tube, that can be redistributed. This process changes the helicity of carbon nanotubes and eventually affects its electronic property. So that is about the mechanical properties of carbon nanotubes. Now let us discuss electronic properties of carbon nanotube. So the electronic properties can be related to their structure, just like we are relating the mechanical properties with their structure. Similarly, you can relate the electronic properties to their structure as well. The armchair tubes, what kind of structure they have? They have armchair tubes. They are metallic. And the zigzag tubes and chiral tubes, they are either metallic or semi-conducting, depend on the wrapping angle and length of the CMT. So from this line, it would be clear to you in which direction the graphene sheet is rolled. The nanotube can be an armchair tube, it can be a zigzag tube, and it can be a chiral tube, right? So the electronic property of a carbon nanotube depends on the direction of the graphene sheet, the wrapping angle of the graphene sheet, and the length of the CMT. In case of armchair tubes, they are metallic in nature, highly conductive towards the electricity. Zigzag tubes and chiral tubes, they could be metallic or semi-conducting in nature. Then the electrical conductivity of individual multi-wall nanotubes, they could be metallic, semi-conducting or semi-metallic. So the electrical conductivity of a multi-wall nanotube, it becomes metallic by if you dope them with boron and nitrogen. So do you know what is doping? Doping is simply when you add some uh, impurity to your pure substance in order to enhance its property. Like you have seen doping in case of semiconductors. We prepare p-type semiconductors and n-type semiconductor. When you mix trivalent impurity with the semiconductor, it becomes p-type, and when you mix a pentavalent impurity, then it becomes n-type semiconductor, right? Similarly, we can dope the carbon nanotube in order to change their certain properties. So, the electrical conductivity of a multi-wall nanotube can be changed by doping with boron and nitrogen, both. If you dope it with boron, this will be a trivalent impurity, right? And if you dope it with nitrogen, that will be a pentavalent impurity. And the conductivity of a single wall nanotube, it becomes an order of magnitude higher by intercalating the nanotube with alkali and halogen dopants. So in case of a single wall nanotube, the doping can be done by alkali or halogen dopants. And in case of a multi-wall nanotube, this can be done by using boron and nitrogen. So this was about the electronic properties of carbon nanotubes. Now let us discuss the chemical properties of carbon nanotubes. It has been known that the basal graphite plane is what? The graphene hexagon. When the basal part it is throughout composed of the hexagon, the graphene hexagon, then it is what? Basal graphite plane. So the basal graphite plane is always what? It is chemically inert. Chemical reactivity will be shown whenever we have a pentagonic structure. Anywhere in the carbon nanotube, if there is a pentagon structure, then the chemical reactivity will be shown. So the basal graphite plane is chemically inert, and that is due to the graphene hexagons. But the CNTs are susceptible to some chemical reactions due to pi orbital mismatch in the curvature structure. on their curvature, there could be some pentagons present, that is due to the pi orbital mismatch. And at these places, the nanotubes are now susceptible for some chemical reaction. So, oxidation studies have revealed that the tips, or you can say the caps of carbon nanotubes, they are more reactive than the cylindrical part. The caps of the carbon nanotube, they are more reactive than the cylindrical part. And why it is so? Because whenever we have a graphene hexagon that is chemically inert, and the pentagons that arises due to pi orbital mismatch, they tends to show the chemical reactivity. They are present on the curvature part, and at those places, carbon nanotube shows chemical reactivity. Now, there have been numerous reports on the enhanced electron transfer of analytes when carbon nanotubes are used as electrode material. So, we can use them as electrode material as well. And whenever we do that, the electron transfer reactions of analytes, they are enhanced. What is the basic function of a working electrode? It has to exchange the electron with the analyte, right? Either the analyte will take electron from the working electrode, or it will give its electron to the working electrode. It could be oxidation reaction or reduction reaction. So in both the cases, whatever reaction is going to take place, at the end it will be some electron transfer reaction. And what these carbon nanotubes are doing, they enhance that electron transfer reaction. So the moderate reactivity made it easy to introduce functional group to the CNT. In order to capture certain analyte, in order to capture certain your recognition element, for binding recognition element, or to sense some specific molecule, you need to introduce some functional group on the surface of your electrode, and that we have seen in case of chemically modified electrodes. So, because the carbon nanotubes are moderately reactive on their surface, we can introduce certain functional groups on their surface just to help them in the design of some sensor. So that can be done by simple chemical reactions. Like in case of chemical modification, we have seen, for example, during the purification of carbon nanotube with a strong acid, the carboxyl functional group are introduced to the surface of CNT, especially at the tips. Why at the tips? Because just we discussed that they are highly reactive at the tips. Whenever there is a curvature on the tube, what happens? They are more reactive at that place. Now, this carboxyl functional groups, they are involved in the nanotube chemical modification with amide linked group at the tip end of the carbon nanotube. Once you have introduced a carboxylic group on the nanotube surface, now you can react with that carboxyl group with any of the reagent that generally reacts with the carboxyl group. You can go for all the reactions of carboxylic group using that carbon nanotube, and you can introduce a group of your desire according to your need, according to your sensor design. So that is all for the chemical properties of carbon nanotube. Now let us move forward and discuss how we can prepare carbon nanotubes. So numerous methods have been developed for the preparation of carbon nanotubes. Like we have arc discharge method, we have laser vaporization method, pyrolysis method, plasma enhanced or thermal chemical vapor deposition. These are several methods. But what are the main techniques which we commonly use? So among these methods, arc discharge, laser vaporization and chemical vapor deposition, these are the main techniques, and generally we use them for the production of carbon nanotubes. Let us discuss the first technique, that is arc discharge. So when you are using the technique of arc discharge, the nanotubes are produced by arc vaporization of two carbon rods placed in a chamber that is filled with low pressure inert gas. You have put two carbon rods in a chamber, and the inside of the chamber is filled some low pressure inert gas. The composition of the graphite anode determines the type of CNT used, produced. So you can alter the graphite anode composition, and you can get the CNT type of CNT that you desire. You can prepare a single walled nanotube, you can prepare multiple walled nanotube by merely changing the composition of graphite anode. How can we do that? A pure graphite anode. If you are taking a pure graphite anode, then what will be formed? Multi-walled nanotube will be formed. When when you are taking a pure graphite anode, but when you are using some catalyst, like you have doped your graphite anode with some metals like iron, cobalt, nickel, yttrium, or molybdenum. So in case of doped graphite anode, mainly single walled nanotubes are formed. So this is the technique of arc vaporization, in which we can prepare single walled nanotube and multi walled nanotube both by merely changing the composition of my graphite anode. Now from this technique, normally what happens? A complex mixture of components is produced, and then we require to purify and separate the specific CNTs from the soot. Soot is soot is the deposited carbon, the carbon that is deposited from the inside of the chamber. That is that is the soot, SOOT, soot. Like if you put a metal spoon, if you put a steel spoon over a lamp, over a burning lamp, suppose you have prepared a lamp using the mustard oil, and if you put a spoon upside down, concave side down above the flame of that lamp, then the soot will get collected over the spoon, and sometimes it is also called kajal. So soot is just carbon particles deposited somewhere. So when you apply the arc deposition, arc vaporization technique, the carbon particles are evaporated and get deposited on the surface of chamber. And when you collect the soot, what happens? Now it is not only composed of single walled or multiple walled nanotube, it may also contain some other type of carbon particles, and they may or may not belong to the nano range. So, for any type of research purpose or analysis purpose, or any if you are constructing electrode using that nanotube, first thing one has to go is for the purification of the soot. You have to separate the nanotube of your desire. Like if you want only single walled nanotube, so you have to purify that soot, and you have to collect the nanotube of your choice. So the this is what this is the disadvantage of the technique. If I want only single walled nanotube, then it is not that component which is getting prepared from this method. Complex mixture is produced, and now I have to go for the step of purification. Also, if I am using some metals in the graphite anode, these metals could also be present in the soot. So they are again a different type of impurity that I get in my crude product. So I need to go for different purification steps in order to get the nanotube of my choice. Another technique is laser ablation technique, and it was developed by Smollett group at Rice University in the year 1995. In this technique, the samples were prepared by laser vaporization of graphite rods, and the catalyst was a mixture of cobalt and nickel. They used a temperature of 1200 degrees Celsius, and the experiment was conducted using the argon environment. So, at the heat treatment in vacuum at 1000 degrees Celsius, the soot that is obtained by the laser ablation, it contains C60 and other type of fullerenes. And also, the material produced by this method appears as a mat of ropes. 10 to 20 nanometer in the diameter and up to 100 micrometer or more in the length. So what type of a nanotube this could be? This could be the multi-wall nanotube. Like I have said you, zero point 0.2 to 2 nanometer diameter is the case of a single wall nanotube, and whenever it is greater than this will be multi-wall nanotube. So these are the two principal techniques, and they are generally used for the uh, production of nanotubes. Despite the frequent use of arc discharge and laser ablation technique, they are commonly used, frequently used. Both of these methods suffer from certain drawbacks. So, what are the disadvantages of these two methods? First is both the methods involve evaporating the carbon source, which makes it difficult to scale up production to the industrial level using these approaches. When we are using these methods, you are evaporating the carbon source, right? You are evaporating the graphite anode. And if it is so, these methods cannot be used up for industrial level production of carbon nanotube. If you have to do that at a very large scale or industrial scale, you cannot obtain a large batch. It is you are doing what? At high temperature, you are evaporating the carbon source and collecting the soot. So these techniques failed if you have to produce the nanotube at large scale. The second disadvantage is the vaporization methods grow CNTs in highly tangled form mixed with unwanted form of carbon, metal species. So the crude product is highly impure. This could have, in addition to CNT, they could have many other type of carbon particles deposited along with them. So the CNTs thus produced are difficult to purify, manipulate and assemble for building nanotube device architecture in practical application. So it is not the CNT that you are getting from these two methods, but other impurities are also obtained in significant quantities. After purifying that small amount of food that I'm getting from these techniques, it is practically impossible that I can go for a large scale production of nanotube using these two methods. So these are the two basic disadvantages. And then another technique was developed, that is chemical vapor deposition, CVD. In this technique, what happens? The hydrocarbons, they are used for the production of nanotubes. Metal catalyst is used, and successfully this technique can be used to synthesize carbon fibers, carbon filaments. So this catalytic chemical vapor deposition, generally for this acetylene is used over cobalt and iron catalyst on silica or zeolite. CNT can also be produced by diffusion, flame synthesis, electrolysis, use of solar energy, heat treatment of a polymer, and low temperature solid pyrolysis. These are several other techniques. Like in one of the conferences, a scientist from MNIT, he was explaining his research work about carbon nanotube, and what he was doing, he was collecting carbon particles from the atmosphere. The the carbon fumes that are getting emitted from the vehicle, they are also containing carbon nanotubes. So what he was doing, he was collecting carbon nanotubes from atmosphere. So thereby getting nanotubes, which is actually quite an expensive material, he was getting it at free of cost, and also reducing the carbon load of the atmosphere. That was really a revolutionary research work. Other techniques by which we can prepare it in the flame synthesis, like the combustion of the portion of hydrocarbon gas is done, and it provides us the again the soot. Soot is we get, that is the carbon particle deposited on the surface, and this is done on the elevated temperature. And by adjusting the temperature, we can basically adjust what type of what would be the scale of the nanoparticle. So this flame also constitute an efficient source of both energy and hydrocarbon raw material. Now combustion can also be used for large scale production of carbon nanotubes. So that is all for today's lecture. Now tell me any two specific properties of carbon nanotube. Any two specific properties. This could be a chemical property, an electrical property, or a mechanical property. Just tell me two properties. Yes. Yes, Dhraj.
Yes, ma'am.
Any two properties about their chemical reactivity or their mechanical strength, like they are having high mechanical strength. This is one of the very significant property. Then second property is they
High thermal conductivity, maybe. Uh,
have high electrical conductivity.
Conductivity.
Yes. And second question is, what are the two different categories of CNT? Very easy question. Two types of CNT.
Two types of
Two types of carbon
nano
nanotube.
nanotubes. Yeah.
We have single wall nanotubes and multi-wall nanotubes. So these are the two different categories of carbon nanotubes. What are they? Single wall and multi-wall. Single wall is like a single pipe, and multi-wall is when you have so many pipes connected together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now the last question is, just tell me any two methods for the preparation of CNT. Two methods.
Uh, Vapor deposition.
Very good. Vapor
Vapor
deposition.
deposition and
Chemical vapor deposition, when we are depositing the vapor of a hydrocarbon and using a metal catalyst.
yes, ma'am.
Yes. Another one
Then
is
uh,
when you are using arc, right? Arc deposition method.
uh,
Arc deposition method. Okay.
yeah.
So,
Deposition.
okay. So, is this lecture clear to you?
What, ma'am?
Is this topic clear to you?
Yeah, sure.